So is Disney going to take up the slack and start producing all of the Phase 2 clone variants that we've been asking Hasbro to do? It appears that might be the case. Let's get into this. All right, welcome to another episode of Paul's Collectibles. It's good to have you. Thanks for joining me as always. And today we are right back to talking about full-size helmets. This time I have the Phase 2 Commander Gree helmet. Now this came from Disney and it was available at Disney parks probably 2 weeks before it actually became available online on the Disney store. Now, I don't have a Disney here where I live, but I'm lucky. My buddy KC, who lives in Los Angeles, you've heard me talk about him often. He goes to Disney quite often and he saw it, sent me a picture and said, hey, look what's here. And luckily he picked it up for me a couple of days earlier than it became available online. So I've already got it in hand and we can take a look at it so you can see if maybe this one is one you'll want to pick up. Now, Commander Gree made his initial appearance in Revenge of the Sith, standing behind Yoda right as Order 66 went down, and as you'll recall, that didn't really work out so well for him. And then the Clone Wars cartoons came out and we got a lot more of Commander Gree as well. I think one of my favorite things about him is the dual stripe haircut he has. Now, his name apparently comes from some alien race because he had an interest in botany or xenobiology or something like that if you do a deep dive on his character. But with that, we're going to get this one out in front of some lights. We'll take a look at the helmet and the packaging itself, and I'll also compare it to the previous Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmet we got, Mace Windu's Battalion, and we'll compare it to the Hasbro Captain Rex helmet so you can see some size differences. Okay, to start with, we'll take a look at the packaging, and as usual, it's probably hard to see in these lights, maybe not, but most everyone's probably used to this by now. The box on these has these three-dimensional hieroglyphics is what I like to call them, and they're all unique Star Wars icons like Darth Vader's helmet, the Boba Fett symbol, the Millennium Falcon, and it's really cool how they do the boxes on these. But there's a front view of the helmet, the 41st Legion Clone Commander Gree. Whew, that's a mouthful. We're just going to call him Commander Gree for this video. And as you come around, there's a side view. And then this one, they have some things that it does. It says voice changing helmet with sound effects. Now I'm going to tell you right now, it most likely does change your voice a little bit, and it probably has the same thing as a lot of these other helmets have, where you push a button and it'll say things to you in phrases from the Clone Wars voice. But I don't mess with those, just so you know. So if you're interested in seeing the electronics on these, you'll have to check a different video, sorry. But it does have real character phrases, it says, voice changing effect, full-scale adult helmet, and I'm interested to see if it's one of these ones that pulls apart again like the Mace Windu Battalion one did, and an interior padding, which is included. And then we get the other side of the helmet. All right, let's get it open and in front of some lights. Okay, there's Commander Gree out of the box, and when you get it, it comes all put together just like this, and it comes with a package of padding so you can, you know, make it a little bit more unique for your head size. We're just gonna leave that in the package because all I do is display these. I don't wear them very much. First impressions for this price point, this one was a little bit more expensive than the last Phase 2 clone helmet I got. I think that one was only $79.99. This was $99.99 or $100 US. It's still a good looking helmet. That's approaching the price of the Hasbro Black Series helmets. They're getting upwards of $130. However, lately they've been dropping the prices back down to $100. So I wonder if they're getting to some sort of competition with Disney on these, but anyways, we'll see. And as you can see, it has his unique green deco. Now, the interesting thing about the weathering here is that it feels like it's paint on top of paint, and the other parts of the helmet are not weathered, only his green lines. So I'm wondering if this is just supposed to be like the bare metal that's underneath, and so there's nothing to weather on here, and that's my impression. But first off, it's a pretty sturdy helmet. It's nice and heavy and a good sturdy plastic. Everything is molded in. These are molded in here. There's nice bevels around his eyes, as you can see right in here. So it's just not an abrupt end. It kind of bevels in to the lenses. The lenses are a nice sturdy green and very reflective, just like we saw in Commander Gree's helmet in Revenge of the Sith. And down here, this is molded in nicely. These feel like metal, but they're most likely plastic, who knows. That's done very well. It's obviously a separate piece that's attached in there. Looks really good. It's got the weathering all up on top here. And once again, the crest is white, and there's no weathering on the crest, which I find to be interesting, but I think that actually is probably pretty screen accurate. And as you come around, these vents, these are molded in. You can actually see into the lower recesses of the helmet down there. That's pretty cool. The green under here is modeled very, very nicely. The black up there, no weathering. And I'm noticing, and I don't know if they're showing up on camera and all, I'm noticing little dents here and there. And you can actually feel that one. And there's like a seam right there where this helmet was put together. And I guess that would add some realism to it, quite frankly, for what it's supposed to be, which is, you know, kind of broken and weathered. As you come around, you can continue to see the weathering in different colors. There's like a lighter green and a darker green and then like silver. So not quite sure how that happens. Maybe the paint is fading in places and stuff like that. And I love this. So these are molded and these are painted on. So I guess with the old helmets, they used to use decals or they would paint these on to represent vents. But since we have real vents here, I guess this is supposed to be decoration. So it's okay that it's weathered like that. And as I feared, this is the only thing I don't like about the Disney helmets. The plus side is they're able to make them a little bit smaller so they look more screen accurate than the Hasbro Plus one or the Hasbro one, which you'll see later. But they do this thing where this back pulls out like this, and so you end up with this big long crack. This one's a little bit better. The last one I had, when you set it down, the crack was still a good 1/8 of an inch wide. This one at least is a little bit more snug, but this way it'll fit larger heads. So, to your point, in case you were wondering, no, you'll never be able to use this for 501st Legion costuming because it's you know, obviously pedestrian level or more of a toy, quite frankly. And as you're coming around, they have the screw here. I'm guessing that's where the batteries go for the electronics. Once again, I don't mess with the electronics. I'll apologize to you for that ahead of time. But this is very pristine, very nice. This back part, there's like the 2 dots and then the horizontal bar in there. And as you come around, there's more of the standard weathering. This actually looks like it might be the exact same sticker they're using over here. If you look at that, see where the notch is and the 2 lines, and then you come around, see where the notch is and the 2 lines. It's weathered exactly the same. And then there's the button for the electronics, at least probably the voice changer if I'm guessing. Once again, 3-dimensional vent. But the front of that helmet, and you know, from like a partial profile like that, that looks really good. It's gonna look great on display. Let's take a look at the inside. Okay, looking at the inside of this helmet here, you can see up on the top, that's where probably the batteries go. And there's a switch in there you can see just to the right of the battery pack up in here. And that's how you make it say different phrases, most likely from Revenge of the Sith or the Clone Wars, and that's usually the difference. And then there's the openings for the vents down here. You put it on, you can see the green. And then they have a nice little nose cup and a mouth cup to make the helmet fit you better, or at least comfortable when you have it on, which is nice because it's a little small even when it opens, and that helps it rest against your face. And it doesn't have all of the fake electronics and stuff inside like the Hasbro helmets do. It's kind of just plain. So here's the Disney Phase 2 clone helmet, basically Commander Gree, compared to the Hasbro Plus Captain Rex helmet. Now this isn't the standard Phase 2 clone helmet, which I would prefer to use for comparison. However, my Phase 2 clone helmet from Hasbro is packed away because we're moving soon. But this one's about the same size. And although it's not quite as dramatic on camera, in live real person here, you can really see how much bigger this one is compared to this one, which kind of makes it look a little silly, people have said, especially the Phase 2 clone one. But I think it's really screen accurate for like live action, like the Ondar clones that are walking by. Those were obviously real people. So the helmets had to be big enough to fit their heads. This is an interesting compromise because it's a little smaller, so it looks more screen accurate. It doesn't look quite as silly, but it has that silly thing that opens up on the back. And now, just so you can see, once again, this is the Disney Phase 2 helmet. This is my high-end Denuo Novo 501st clone helmet. Now, this is not an inexpensive helmet. These run anywhere from $400 to $700, whereas this is $100. But once again, here's a good comparison. This fits my head. It's comfortable. It's quote-unquote screen accurate. It is usable for 501st clone approval or 501st costuming approval if you want to be this clone. And as you can see, it's slightly bigger, but I think it's the best of both worlds because it doesn't have that silly crack on the side. It fits your head, but it's not so super huge, gargantuan like the Hasbro ones are. So depending on what you're doing and what you're interested in, I'm only interested in display. All 3 of those helmets are great for me. If you're going to go costuming, you're going to have to get something like this or maybe from another manufacturer. If you're just looking to display, this is an excellent option. Just so you know, the layman won't notice the cracks on the side, and heck, I won't even notice it when I display it. So there's another fun comparison of the different types of helmets you can get out there. So there you have it. Just a quick look at and a comparison of the new Disney Commander Gree Phase 2 clone helmet. It looks great. It's going to look great on display. It's got some options if you want to wear it and use it as like a toy or something like that with the voice changer and the effects inside. But if you just want to display it, I can recommend this one. It's going to look great with the other Phase 2 helmets that I have in my collection. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel, maybe consider doing that for me. It's a great way to support my efforts here at Paul's Collectibles. And if you're already a subscriber or somebody who's been watching my videos for a really long time, you already know I greatly appreciate you. And with that, I'll see you on the next video.